All good. Okay, everyone, thank you for being here, and I'll ask Councillor Rangiaho for an opening karakia, please.
Morena tātou. He honore I korore e maungarung kirunga te whenua e whakaaro pai ki ngā tangata kotoa āmini. E whakamohimiti atu ana mātou ki a koe I hua mai mana ki tanga. Te kana mātou e koe ina rā kua pāre tēnā I tāno mai ki tēnei rā. Korore ki toinga tapu āmini. Kia ora tātou.
Āmini.
Thank you for that. We've got Councillor Boynton and Councillor Tanzos online. So welcome. And Kat Doughty, who is going to be speaking to us in the public participation part of the meeting. Welcome councillors, staff and members of the public. Council and standing committee meetings are live streamed on the council's websites and YouTube channels. Public gallery attendees' presence implies your consent to being broadcast. Further information about live streaming protocols can be found on the council's website. Health and safety: in case of an emergency, follow the building wardens to the nearest exit. The meeting point is across the road at Peace Park, just over here behind us. Bathroom facilities are located opposite the chamber foyer at the entrance as you came in. A reminder to councillors that there will be a public excluded briefing held at the conclusion of the meeting. Apologies, I have one from Councillor O'Brien for lateness, possible lateness. We have any others? No. Do we need to move the lateness? Oh, okay. Do we have any acknowledgements or tributes? Councillor Rangiaho?
I just have a couple of acknowledgement. This one is to the Māori Women's Welfare League for hosting a very successful Ngāpū kōrero o Apopo, which is it is an event to encourage our young people on a speaking platform, and that was hosted at Te Waimanakaku. The second acknowledgement is for Te Urutau Matua in terms of being acknowledged through the Royal Architectural Institute of Canada for the building and climate change.
Thank you for that. No other acknowledgements?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
Aroha mai, off my camera. I'm just in a place where it's probably not good to have my camera on right now, but I just want to acknowledge all of our secondary schools kapahaka rōpū who today are performing in the Matata Regionals being held in Tauranga. So a big mihi to all of those kura today, and just acknowledging them and all their hard work and the many months that they would have put into that. I know for one, my son is in the Te Aroa one, which I'm attending today. So I just want to acknowledge our Matata secondary schools. Kia ora.
Thank you. No one else? Okay, we move on to conflicts of interest. The members that have any conflicts of interest to declare? No. Fine. Move on to the public participation. Please note that each deputation has been allocated 10 minutes. If the time limit is exceeded, you may be asked to conclude your remarks. Kindly ensure your microphone is activated by pressing the button until the light turns green, indicating it's working. So first off, we have the Matata Collective. If you'd like to come forward, I welcome Sally Mackay, Nicola Dobson, and Peter Flowerday. The floor is yours. And there is a presentation on Stella.
That's for that night.
Oh, no, that's for Coastlands, sorry. The Matata one is part of our agenda, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kia ora koutou. That's very loud, isn't it? As introduced, my name is Sally Mackay, part of the Matata Collective, and I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves. Nicola.
Kia ora, Nicola Dobson. While I am a staff member, today I'm wearing my Matata community member hat.
Piripai, Matata residents, Chairman of Matata Community Board. I don't think they need that. And Rangataiki Community Board member.
Right, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. And thank you, councillors, mayor and senior staff of council. We have been before you previously. You might recall our presentation during the long-term planning approach, and we're just here to refresh you and to talk about some of the things we're actually doing now and how that's come along. So as a reminder, do I need to keep that on? It's very loud. Is it okay? Okay. Move back a bit, that'll work. So the collective is just that. It's a combination of, as you know, communities are made up of a lot of groups. We're not just one homogenous community. So there's many groups within Matata, and the collective is a voice of many of those groups. And that's a fantastic initiative in itself, because it shows the willingness of people to come together to have some common purpose and common vision. Because we all have different aspects we want to work on and different aspirations. But this collective is representative of the groups across the community and how we want to progress. And it's come from a place of a bit of adversity. You might recall, and Matata's had a lot of different experiences over time, but one of the things that occurred, of course, was the Aotearoa fanhead, which you will all know about. And as a result of that, the community, after that incredible shock, came together and started to do more of their planning. So this process now before you is just a reinvigoration of that. It's taking that forward. The community's never stopped their planning. They've never stopped their work, but this is taking it to the next step forward. Thanks, Nicola. And of course, there's a lot of history around Matata. Some of that's very tragic, as you'll know. Some of the areas there are representative of the wars that occurred and the tragedy within that, and also the aspirations of the area, huge wharf and industry, and where we are today. So one of the things we've done in our collective view is made sure we've honoured the past and recognised the past in taking that forward and where we want to go in the future. Thanks, Nicola. Now, just to remind you, and I'm sure you all know, Matata is the gateway to the Eastern Bay of Plenty. And when you come into that town and you go under that railway bridge, you're actually entering the territory of which we all care for and which we'll hear about today. And so recognising that and understanding how we welcome people into the whole area is important to us too, because it's not just a welcoming into our town, it's about welcoming into the area. So that's a list there in front of you, and I think you've all had in your notes the full community plan, and there are the groups that work on this plan. Thanks, Nicola. So we have some of the contemporary issues that we've identified in the plan, and some of those you're very aware of, such as the Matata wastewater system, which you're working on, and thank you so much. And I'd also like to just acknowledge the fact that we've also very aware of the fact that we've had council support in this. Vicky, who's been part of a partner in this development as well, has worked with us alongside us to develop this plan. So some of the key issues there around the economic issues we face, especially around the contamination of the area, which you're aware of, and protection of our key values. One of the things we undertook was a community survey, which helped provide further data and information, which I think you've had on before. So I'm going to pass over to Nicola to speak to the key aspects of the plan, and then Peter will also speak to the activities we're doing at the moment.
Thanks, Sally. This plan has been built by listening to the people of Matata, their stories, their hopes, with a vision to create a better future for all residents and the future mokopuna. From these conversations, 4 main themes have emerged: history and culture, environment, people and community, and local economy. By working together, we can ensure that Matata is a place where people value their natural environment, connect to each other, and residents feel safe and secure. Let's take a few minutes to walk through each of these. First, history and culture. History and culture is at the heart of Matata. Our community has told us clearly Aotearoa's identity is a treasure, a taonga that must be preserved, respected and shared. Future development must honour this. Our goals are simple but meaningful. Capture and share our local history and stories of Matata and the surrounding areas. Create welcoming entrance to our village that shows who we are, the things we like, such as murals, po and signage that tells a story as you arrive. And promoting the use of bilingual signage that reflects both te reo and English. Next up, the environment. People love Matata because of its natural beauty, the beach, the lagoon, Te Aotearoa, the hills and its wildlife. But there is a concern that this taonga could be at risk if we don't protect them. Our community's goals include supporting community planting and clean-up projects, cleaning up the entrances to towns so that they reflect our pride and place, and working with key partners to restore and protect the lagoon, Te Aotearoa. Third, our people and our community. Wellbeing came up again and again. People want to feel safe, supported and connected. We know that Matata has a strong community spirit and we want to build on that. This includes continuing to improve services in Matata, like resolving our ongoing wastewater issues through sewage reticulation, which you are all well aware of, along with road safety issues such as the speed issues on Pākehā Street, which is an ongoing. We want to create opportunities for events, activities and projects that bring our people and our community together, supporting our whānau, rangatahi and kaumātua across all backgrounds, and ensuring that our community is prepared in the event of emergencies. We would like to see investment in recreation, like upgrading our playground, maintaining our walking tracks, and exploring cycle trail connections to places like Thornton and Edgecombe. A long-term aspiration of the community is a multi-purpose community centre, a space that brings everyone together under one roof. And finally, local economy. People want growth, but not at the cost of Matata's relaxed coastal lifestyle. Our focus is supporting and promoting existing local businesses, encouraging small business growth that fits in with the character of the community, and exploring ideas that create jobs and keeps people connected locally so that whānau can return back home to Matata. Our plan is about honouring the past, protecting what we love, and creating a future that reflects the values of the people who live in Matata. It's a living document built on community voice. We look forward to working alongside Council and other partners to help bring this alive. And we thank Vicky and Council for the support so far to create this and bring this into life. Peter will now share what we are currently working on.
First things first, the group have come up with a plan of putting an information notice board for the community and tourism, which is going to go opposite the drift, and that is something that we're working on. We have partial funding at the moment, which has been given from the Rangataiki Community Board, and we appreciate that. Our next exercise is a barbecue and seating area upgrade, which is, if you look in that picture that's up now, it's actually just behind the Piripai trees. There's a few barbecue tables there, and we anticipate to put a barbecue in there. And we've had a barbecue waiting for Matata for probably over 5 or 6 years. With costs getting it up to the beach, it wasn't feasible, so we've decided to put it in there if we get the go-ahead. We're looking at doing historical and cultural trail with notice boards, small notice boards with QR codes telling people where they all are. We've also partnered up with local iwi, DOC, District Council and Regional Council to tidy up the lagoon area, and because the lagoon is Matata. It is not a very tidy looking place at the moment, but if we can get it done, we get it done. And that's working with the 4 groups to get it done. So that's underway. There are 4 projects at the moment, and we have bigger and greater ambitions, as Nicola said. So that's what we'd like to do. Thank you.
Thank you, and we're happy to take questions. As we said, there's some long-term initiatives that we're starting on, but we're also very active. And I think the wonderful part about that is the community are very contributive of their time. You know, there's quite a lot of volunteerism around the area, and people pitch in and get it done. As Peter's talking about the lagoon, people get their certificate on how to spray and to do it with DOC and go out and spray. They're doing things every day. We just, it's not necessarily publicly proclaimed what they're doing, but people are out there doing things all the time. But over to you, if I may, Mr. Chairman, and take questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Isles?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, presenters. My question, I guess, is where exactly does this fit within the Rangatahi Community Board? For example, I'm part of the Sky Aotearoa Community Board. We're doing similar things for our community, but we're doing them within that structure, i.e. we're doing a community plan for Sky Aotearoa, then we intend to work on Waimana, Wainui, etc. I don't see any reference in this to the Rangatahi Community Board.
Peter can answer that more fully. I think we are a subset, I suppose. We're a community group. We're a collective of the community of who resides in and around Matata, but certainly keeping in close connection. And I think Peter was talking earlier about the funding we've already received from it. And I'll let Peter speak to that because he sits on the board.
Well, we have actually presented this plan to the Rangatahi Community Board, and we've done it to the locals, and we're trying to just keep it in that area there. If we need help from the community board, it's there, and that's the way we've been working around it. The community board, because we cover such a large area, we've got Edgecombe, Tania, all the other Titeka and stuff like that. If we were involved with all of those, it would be an issue. But we do have representatives sit on each group. Like I sit on the Matata Residents Association, Hemi Brown sits on Titeko, and Ross Gardner sits on Manuahei and things like that. So we do have members of the board listening to what's going on.
Supplementary, if I may. Peter, just to carry on from there, is there proposed community development plans for the likes of, say, Titeko, Edgecombe, and somebody mentioned Thornton a little bit earlier as well. Is that part of the long-term brief?
To be honest, I don't think it is, because nothing's been sort of brought up in the last 2 years. Edgecombe was set up beforehand. They're looking at upgrading their plan. We're just starting. So, and I don't know about Titeko or anything like that. Nothing's been sort of brought up, which could be sort of brought up at our next meeting. We could table something like that for the board to do.
Okay. And do you feel that there should be some acknowledgement within this community plan for the contribution from the Rangatahi Community Board?
Well, what actually happened was we've got this up and running first. If and when we get the finances, that will be advertised on the notice board for the contribution, and there will be a letter replied back to the district to the board for thanks.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Roman?
Sorry, may I add on to that? I think we're all connected. I suppose it's a fact, as you pointed out, perhaps it doesn't state in there, but, as we're connected to council, as we're connected to regional council. So, yeah, we're all like a big spider web, I suppose, of our connections, but I think this is very much a place-based approach from the community of Matata and reaching out to further develop those partnerships and how we're linked in, and that's having Peter there on the board, Gavin, local councillors. So, yeah, we use and connect with all those people we can, and agencies.
Fully appreciate that, Sally. The point I was making is, in the past, community boards have had a bit of a bad rap from time to time, and it would be nice to see and to acknowledge the contribution that they make from a community level, whether it be in the Matata Community Plan or across the whole of the community board.
Yeah.
And that's why I raised the question.
Thank you. Acknowledged, and it's a good point, and the board's doing incredible work, and they do support us, so thanks.
Councillor Dennis, were you going to speak to this or another part?
I'd just like a bit of clarity on that one, Councillor Isles, is that I agree with what you're saying, but the Rangatahi Community Board is the only community board that has several resident associations sitting under it, Titeko, Edgecombe, Awakaponga, Manuahei, and then you've got the smaller communities like Thornton, etc., etc. And so I think because of that, the benefit for the community board is that each separate group is totally different from each other, and so that allows them to create their own community plans supported by the community board, but also their own evacuation plans, etc., and so there's a slight difference there. Ably supported by the community boards because they present to that, but there's that slight difference. Edgecombe has its own community plan and has done for quite a while, which got presented through the community board, and so there's just a slight different fit there.
Deputy Mayor,
Or can I respond?
we're not here for a debate.
I know, but again, you allowed the councillor to question my
Quickly.
answer. And what I'm saying basically is I fully understand exactly what you're saying, but for the point of clarity, to sort of silence those naysayers regards community boards, it would be nice to have it highlighted. That's all. Because other community boards also are in similar situations to the Rangatahi.
Deputy Mayor,
Thank you, Mr Chair, and good morning, Peter, Sally and Nicola. Thank you very much for your presentation and for all of the hours that have gone into rallying the community around to get to this point. My question relates about the Matata Lagoon, or Te Aotearoa, and the Tarawera Awa Strategic Planning Group. They also have plans in the future with possible river diversion and trying to clean the lagoons up and move out towards the Awatariki exit, which was its original path. So are you integrally involved in talking with that particular group? Because short-term cleaning up the lagoon doesn't seem to fit with the long-term plan of it. So where's that going to sit?
Thank you. And, you're rightfully saying that there's many interests across that whole area. And the quick answer is yes. Will that be achieved overnight? No. There's a lot of interest in that area, as you know. So Peter has been involved as well in that negotiation or engagement to take that work first. But I think what we're trying to achieve in the short term is what are the common areas we agree to that we can work on? Because there's some areas we can't agree to yet, and that doesn't mean that won't be achieved in the future, but there's a lot of stakeholders involved, as you understand. So Peter, would you like to answer further?
Yeah, I have been working personally with the likes of Simon Costa, Young Destiny and Chris Kingy, I think his last name is, with the group, with iwi. We've been given stuff from DOC, spray packs and stuff like that. So we're working in together, and we actually approached iwi first because the land it's going on is iwi land. So, and they fully support us. And we've got a letter in writing from that, so we're trying to tick all the boxes correctly to get everything done.
All right, thank you very much.
Mayor Victor.
Yeah, thanks folks for the care that you take for your community and your enthusiasm. Just looking at the data that you've got here on the survey snapshot, is that for participants or Matata as a whole? Because you've got like 26% male and 73% female, like it's very heavy on the female side. Why would that be?
Oh, well...
Is that the general population or just the participants in the group?
No, and I'll answer that in all seriousness. I was going to be a little bit flippant in the beginning, but I think it's demonstrative of who responds to a survey. I think, in the main, females are probably more open to participating in community surveys. I think that's what that tells you. But no, it's not reflective of the demographics of the community, which we have from different cohorts of data, including the census, etc. But it gives you a snapshot view. And of course, that was just one tool, please remember. There's been many forums, meetings, workshops, where these groups have all engaged with each other and will continue to. Things will continue to emerge and change. So it's a very dynamic relationship that we've tried to establish, hence the term collective, and hence representative of the work we go out and keep engaging with people as things come up. So that was one tool we used to get a view of the community, which was great. It gave us another view, and we were able to use that data going forward, and it validated what we believed the community was saying to us beforehand. Thanks.
And just a supplementary, Peter, on the barbecue, I didn't quite catch whether you expected council to provide a barbecue and seating or just approve what you're doing or both?
Going back probably 6 or 7 years ago, the Matata Residents Association had the aspiration of having a barbecue up at the beach. The barbecue was purchased and the barbecue is still sitting in storage in council property, so we have been told. So we cannot decide with the new group coming on board, the community plan. We decided that the beach probably wasn't the best place because to get it up there was going to cost thousands to get power and water up there. So that was an issue. So we've decided to look at putting it opposite the playground where it can be utilised and put in, we've got power there, we've got water there, so it can be done. So there will be, we'll probably be looking for a wee bit of funding, but it's not going to be 30-odd thousand to put a cable down the road to connect into power, sort of thing. So, yeah.
So what length of cable are you looking at? A few metres or?
Yeah, well, fingers crossed that we can connect into a power pole lighting for when they put the lights up or something like that. That's what we're looking at.
Thank you.
Any further questions? No?
May I just add, if I may, that whilst council's a key partner with us, please feel reassured that we're not only looking at council as a partnership to do this. Of course, the board's already contributing, as Peter said earlier, but there's other entities and there's much broader philanthropic and corporate funding that we'll be hoping to pursue as we gain momentum in some of these initiatives. So we're not only looking at council as a partner. Yes, you're a key partner, and yes, we need your support. And when we put up proposals for things in the future, when we're working with you to help design things like community centres, and we're able to put up a really good business case, we want council to say, and we recommend this group. You know, they've done the work, they've got the proposal on the table, well developed, well supported, and we support it. And we can go to others for funding. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Lovely. Thank you very much. You're doing a great job. So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Great presentation.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
I ask now for Bex Dakin and Chris Wilkinson to come forward for the Piripai Coastlands Residents Association. And there is a presentation available on Stella for councillors. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Please just switch your mics on. Yep.
Thank you.
And the floor's yours.
Okay, so firstly of all, thank you very much for giving us the time here today. It is very much appreciated. And a very big thank you to Vicky's team who has helped our community collective sort of get the ball rolling, and big thank you to Whakatane Aotearoa Community Board who have given us some funds to liven up some little projects that we'd like to get done in the community, and also sitting in our meetings and giving us guidance. So thank you very much for that. So as you know, today we are here to speak to you about the Kepa Road footpath and cycleway, and we just want to really say to you today that it's not just about a footpath. It's about whether our people can live and move safely and thrive in our community, and I will touch on those points.
So the next slide shows the journey that we've got to get to here. So it says how the Piripai Coastlands Beach Collective formed, why it formed, how we carried out a survey of the residents to find out what was the key issues for them. And that slide just sort of indicates the key milestones that we've had along the way. The last one being where we presented to the community board, which gave us the footpath coming to present to councillors, which we do appreciate.
So
Just touching on that one, we have been around for about approximately 2 years, but sort of only 18 months with anything sort of solid and coming to fruition. We have got a plan coming up for the Piripai Coastlands beach community, and so we're working through that. And as Chris mentioned, that was born off the consultation and the survey that we did to the communities. And I really just want to say that we did present our issues already to the Coastlands community, to the Whakatane Ahopi Community Board, and that has sort of really got the community talking about that.
So the next slide was brought to us by one of our members, and we sort of wanted to know, not necessarily from these you people here today, but how does council get to present these options without actually the local community being consulted? It's just an open-ended question that we don't expect an answer from today, but it's just there as a point of issue that sort of Coastlands feels forgotten. And so, yeah, you get to make decisions without asking local residents what they might like.
So if we go on to the next slide, the residents of Coastlands slightly feel a little bit forgotten, and I can elaborate on that by saying that the footpath its establishment was around 20 years ago, and while 20 years ago that was amazing, it has not had any significant maintenance, it has not had any significant repair. It has had a little bit of bits and bobs given to it, and you know, this is a main route for our residents, and especially those ones that are without a car, and we don't have any public transport coming into our community at the moment. So going to the next slide and looking at the stats, 71% increase Coastlands has had in the number of households since 2013. We have our median age is 38.7, so that means that we have young families as well as an older population, and I think people look at Coastlands as, you know, people are going out there to build and retire, but that's not what our data shows us. And one of the main stats here that really resounded with me is the occupancy status. So owner occupancy in Coastlands is 90.8%, and that's over the top of Ahopi, which is only 73.5%. So we are all there, living in that community all the time, paying rates. Our big one down the bottom there is what challenges is about living in Coastlands, and there you can see, right at the top, from all of our residents, Kepa Road Cycleway was number one. So if we go on to the next slide.
So what this slide shows is when we had a community event for the painting of the power boxes, we actually had a community event whereby we took the opportunity to petition the people that were there. They actually filled in a form. 75 people filled in a form, and 100% of those people said the Keeper Road footpath was an issue. And things said about what it could be done that you'll see further on at the end of the slide. But talking to the school kids that ride on that footpath or on the road because they say the footpath is too bumpy, it's not safe, especially as it goes over the bridge where it's starting to slump into the canal. They don't feel safe, so they ride on the road. That road is an 80k speed limit. It seemed to get forgotten when we're looking at the speeds for local roads. It's not the best road to be going 80k on with the bends that it's got and the camber that it's got.
So if we go to the next slide, you will see there the condition of it is deteriorating badly And I invite all of the councillors to come out, and I will organise a mobility scooter for you to sit on and ride on and show you how awful it is. We have many members of our community that are reliant on that form of transport. And even sitting on a bike with suspension, it is not comfortable. We'd also like, if you show the next slide, to mention that this is not only just about our Coastlands community, but about Whakatane, and Whakatane being, noticed as one of the most beautiful places. This footpath has had national events across it. So Oxfam Trail Walker, Soakton Adventure, the Women's Wonder Race, and of course our own Whakatane District Council having its events across it. So I'd just like to say it is utilised by more than just our community, and it is a connection from Whakatane out to Coastlands Beach to walk their dogs to get that fitness as well. So if we go on to the next slide. The Facebook survey on the residents was resounding in the fact that when we spoke to people and we asked them the questions, so many people said that they wouldn't use it, and they're not using it anymore because of how dangerous and because of the condition. So we were excited when the roading team decided to put in a counter measure so that it would measure the people going across this during summertime, but unfortunately that's not going to be an accurate reflection of people using it, because they've decided that, it's too dangerous, uneven, tripping up as it gets darker at night. Our footpath isn't lighted that well. We've got street lights that are out, namely the one on the corner of Ferguson and Kepa, and so people just find it too dangerous. The next slide. The next slide breaks down all of the votes that we had for you. And then the next slide just gives you a very high-level view of some of the most impactful statements from our residents. So just looking to you today, we are here to represent the residents from Coastlands, Piripai Coastlands Beach community. And for them, they want to say it's not just a broken footpath. It's about whether people can live active, connected, healthy lives, and the state of the footpath is preventing families from walking or cycling and cutting people off from their community, being Whakatane, and it's disadvantaging some of our most vulnerable residents. We need safe, inclusive infrastructure that allows everybody to fully participate in our beautiful coastal lifestyle.
So just before we come to that slide, it's not that we haven't been advocating for things to be fixed. We have. When streetlights go out, we report it through the council RFS system. I've made sure people are aware of every time there is something wrong, you need to report it through the RFS system. Occasionally, we do get replies back. So one particular one about the street lighting issues came from roading department in council, saying that they were experiencing a number of street light failures due to faulty components, the type of light that was installed in the network in 2017-18. These faults have been acknowledged by the supplier, and while the supplier is initially providing replacement lights, we don't seem to see those replacement lights, but this is for Whakatane wide, I would assume. The lights still aren't fixed. You come on to Pacific Parade, for example, where I live on Pacific Parade, there are 4 street lights on the bend where there is no light, and that's the main access to the beach. People walk their dogs at night or early in the morning, and I see the headlights on the people as they're walking because there are not sufficient street lights. We also have brought up a number of times through the RFS system again, the state of the Keeper Road footpath and cycleway. We had a reply back from roading team again. We understand your concerns and we acknowledge that the path is not meeting the needs of its users. And that was the end of the quote. There was nothing about what's programmed, what's not. Now, we do know from earlier correspondence that the Keeper Road footpath road and all of issue was part of the marina. The marina's not going ahead, so it's my understanding that Keeper Road was in the 2018 long-term plan for maintenance and repairs or whatever the rehabilitation was going to be. It was removed because of that. All we want now is for it to go back into that long-term plan. We understand that it's got to be, funding's got to be sought to do a really good full rehabilitation. But in the meantime, our residents still only have that one way in and out. People use it as the beach access. The number of tourists, let's say, that come down, they see the sign for Coastlands, they come down to see what it is, to investigate the area. That access is not really, as you say, beautiful, like Whakatane has the acclamation of being one of the most beautiful towns, and it's won awards for that. Coastlands seems forgotten, and that's what we're trying to highlight now through the collective, through doing presentations, through getting involved and getting the community together, having meetings, forming the collective so we can at least have a voice that might be heard better than just one resident making a complaint through the RFS system.
Thank you. We're going to have to wrap it up there, but
Thank you.
open it up for questions. So, Mayor Victor?
Actually, I think you answered my question, which was, were you, because I used to ride that path all the time for a few years, and it used to annoy me too, but the reason that I was always given that nothing was done was because of the boat harbour, which is no longer going to happen. So you've answered my question. Thanks very much. Yeah.
Deputy.
And of course, at the time we had that big list of options, which really just covered everything. So I guess now it's time to look a bit harder at those options.
Deputy Mayor Emmett?
Thank you, Mr Chair, and congratulations and thank you very much, ladies. A great presentation with a lot of data and some great rationale that makes it really hard for us not to want to investigate further about the upgrade. And I know we have been on a holding pattern with the boat harbour situation. But you've got my vote. We're having a vote on upgrading it. And
Thank you.
I see many of the cyclists that come down to the Whakatane heads, and I always welcome with a smile their feedback, and their feedback has not changed in about 5 years. And particularly when it did that minor upgrade, the minor upgrade was worse than the state of what it was beforehand.
A lot of people have said that made it worse just by putting a little bit of asphalt on that middle bit, so it's worse in that bit. There's places that are worse where there's been very little. I mean, it's not aided by the stones from the road and the debris that sort of fall onto the footpath that do make it dangerous for our younger community, the people that cycle to school, people that use that cycleway, because Keeper Road itself's not really wide enough to give a cyclist 1.5 metres and not be on the other side of the road.
So I just want to say that the Keeper Road was not part of the speed, looking into the speed changes or reviews that's coming up. That is an 80-kilometre road. And when you've got students cycling to school, do you think that's acceptable? That there is debris on the road that can flick up onto those children at that speed? There's corners that people are very lax in their taking, and there's just it is a massive safety concern, and that's really what I want you to sort of think about today, is that this is our connection to Whakatane. It is a massive safety concern, and we do need to look at it and look at it long term. Thanks.
I thought we were reducing it to 60, were we, Annalise?
It was reviewed.
It was reviewed, yeah.
Morning, everyone. It was included in the initial list, but it wasn't approved by councillors to include in the consultation document.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dukes.
Thank you. And first off, thank you for the passion that you've brought to your presentation. My question is so I actually rode over this on Saturday myself, we decided to go for a cycle, went out to Coastlands. Are all these photos taken after this new asphalt has been put down? So that's what it now looks like. Because I mean, you're right, you're cycling along, it's hard. It was hard to remember all these patches, but I do recall seeing a few of them. So I was just checking that they were still after all that new asphalt had come down. So perfect, thank you. Keep pushing it.
Councillor Tanzos. Hello, Nandor.
Thank you. And thank you for the presentation, and just to echo other councillors' comments of the quality of the presentation, the really good data you presented and a really compelling argument. And I think it's quite reasonable to challenge our council to stop procrastinating now that the marina is off the table, to give some serious thought to how we address the issues that you've raised. So thank you for that. I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to broaden it out with my question, which is that do you agree that a number of the arguments you've put forward could be applied to other parts of the district? And do you think that this council should be giving more attention to cycling, walking and other active transport modes to enable more active transport for the many reasons that you've given in your presentation?
Absolutely. I think that to get people fit and healthy and on some cycle paths is absolutely what we want from our residents and what we want to see in this community. But I only want to speak for Coastlands residents and our Kepa Road footpath, because that is definitely something that we feel is a connection to the wider community.
Yes,
Thank you, I understand. Thank you for that.
Kepa Road is our only connection back to Whakatane. There is no other way for us to get in or out.
Councillor Isles.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, ladies, for your presentation. Hopefully, staff will pick up on this presentation that's been presented today, and that we'll get a report back through the Infrastructure and Planning Committee in due course. I just wish to highlight, you're quite right. The upgrade on Kepa Road was intended to coincide with the development of the boat harbour, which, as you've already alluded to, is not going to be proceeding. Also, again, we've had tremendous cuts in our NZTA subsidies with regards walkways and cycleways, etc. So I think, bearing in mind some of the hiccups that we've got to face as a council and with regards our spend, I would really hope that we would pick up and present a report back to Infrastructure and Planning to see exactly where or how we can address some of these long-winded solutions that you've been...
So definitely emphasising the safety and our main evacuation route.
Quite agree. So, that won't be overlooked, but as I'm saying, it would be nice for council to pick up on your report and report back to our Infrastructure and Planning Committee.
So one of the other options that we do have available to us is to actually contact the local MP for her to petition Waka Kotahi and the Minister of Transport to say that we do need additional funding for this, and that's on behalf of all of Whakatane roads, not just our one, but we are seen as a growing area. We see a lot of people coming from Tauranga Rotorua out to the coast, and certainly people moving from the business of Tauranga down Whakatane Way, Matata Whakatane Way, just to escape the level of transport that there is and it's becoming more like Auckland.
Supplementary, if I may. appreciate your point, but I mean, we are also petitioning our MP and also Waka Kotahi NZTA with regards funding for the Pekatahi Bridge upgrade. So we've got to be really aware of the funding restrictions that are imposed on us by central government and their agencies.
Okay, and I want to wrap it up after me, Victor's.
Just a comment, maybe you could offer our local MP a bicycle and ask her to come for a ride down the path and see if she can help us get some additional funding.
Yeah.
We'll find one without suspension.
Okay, thank you, ladies. Great presentation, so thanks for coming.
Thank you, councillors. And council exec and the mayor.
We move on to Orange Sky Aotearoa with Kat Doughty online. Welcome, Kat. The floor's yours.
Kia ora koutou, ko Kat Doughty toku ingoa no he kaiwhakahaere aho no Orange Sky Aotearoa. Thank you for having me here today, Mayor Victor, Deputy Mayor and Mr Chair and councillors. Mayor Victor, it was really lovely to meet you last week on the main street of Whakatane. Do you have our presentation there?
It's part of our agenda, yes. All councillors have got it.
Okay, fantastic. For those of you who don't know much about Orange Sky, we started in 2014 with two young mates, Nick and Lucas, who were only 20 years old at the time. They had this wild idea to put some washing machines and dryers in a van to address a local community need in Brisbane. And ever since then, it really expanded right across Australia, up into the remote regions. And in 2018, they brought Orange Sky over the ditch here to Aotearoa. And ever since then, we have delivered over 31,500 loads of laundry, it's now 15,000 showers, and over 46,000 hours of kōrero across the motu. At Orange Sky, at Orange Sky, we don't focus on someone's circumstances. We focus on people. Our service isn't just for those without a roof. It's anyone that needs a bit of kindness, anyone that needs clean clothes and someone to talk to, because we feel that everyone deserves dignity, and we know that having clean clothes is a big part of that. We recently attended the homelessness summit in Tauranga, and it was a great day filled of collective thinking of social service providers right across the motu. And the recent stats from the census are really sobering. There's now 1 in every 1,000 people in Aotearoa are facing homelessness and hardship. They don't have a stable place to live. They are sleeping rough. They're sleeping in cars, in camper vans, or in overcrowded homes, or transitional housing. And that's a real concern. So over 112,000 people across Aotearoa now are in those stats. But behind every stat, there is a story and a reason for us to act. And a really sobering point here is that last year, Orange Sky saw a 106% increase in demand for our services right across the country. We have very ambitious goals for the next few years to double our impact, and one of those is coming to Whakatane. So, at Orange Sky, we know that we can't solve homelessness, and we're not going to pretend that we are. We may have a very simple service, but it can have a very profound effect, as we've already discussed. And these moments of connection on shift really help enhance the dignity and mana of whānau that we meet. One key part of Orange Sky is that we always like to work alongside trusted community partners, including the likes of City Mission, soup kitchens, community centres and churches. We know that providing laundry removes barriers and for those facing hardship and opportunities for people to connect with their community. I think I've already talked about those stats down there. Last year we delivered $2,048,026 in social impact across New Zealand. Orange Sky is coming to Whakatane. We're launching on the 20th of August. We, in partnership with Whakarei Whānau Mentoring Trust and with the support of Whakatane District Council, we were visited last week on Wednesday and had a resounding level of support from the local community. And throughout the 2 hours that we were parked up our van on the main street, we had over 150 people stop by to take a look at our van and to talk to us about our service and the need that they are seeing in their local community. Our hope for Whakatane and in working with Whakarei Whānau Mentoring Trust is that we will be able to meet the people where the need is. Whakarei Whānau Trust is so well trusted and so well known in your community, and that's a really key point for us, because if our brand isn't known, it doesn't build that trust immediately and people won't use our service. So by partnering with Whakarei Whānau Mentoring Trust, we are really hoping to elevate the use of our service and raise awareness and trust of the whānau. We know, we were there last week, and even while we were parked up for a couple of hours, a couple of whānau who were experiencing homelessness stopped by, and they actually asked us to do some washing for them, but we weren't able to on the street. We know that need there is really high. It's quite a sobering fact. Anyway, we know that the data for Whakatane is not yet available from the census, but we know the local socio-economic landscape and indicators proves to significant housing or wellbeing challenges in the community. So we pop on to the next one. Great. So here we are. We're operating right across the Motu now. We have 6 laundry vans, 3 laundry pods, and 2 internal laundries right across the country. Last week, we also launched our service in Tauranga with a laundry pod with another trusted community partner under the stars. We have further plans for next financial year to deliver down in Otepoti and further out to Taranaki as well. It says that we're doing 57 shifts, but we're actually now doing 65 shifts per week. One key factor that we often don't talk about Orange Sky is because we have mobile assets that we're able to respond to communities in crisis. And we've seen recently the Auckland anniversary floods and the Loafers Lodge fire in Te Whanganui-a-Tara, where we were able to mobilise our vans to support people that had been displaced from their homes or had their belongings destroyed. And we're not an emergency service by any stretch of the means, but by being able to step in and support the local emergency management teams is such a great honour for us. And every time we do this kind of thing, we have lines and lines of people to have us wash their laundry. One thing I haven't told you about is that our vans are actually all independently. We don't need to plug them in for power. They have solar panels on them, which is really exciting. And we have on board our own water tanks, both clean water and a wastewater tank as well. And we dispose very carefully of our grey water, and we have very strict rules around that. So we're never going to just dump the grey water onto public streets, parks, or down your stormwater drains. It will only ever go into a wastewater drain. Right, shall we move on? These are some quotes from friends, and I'm sure you've read them. But I want to tell you about something that really sticks out for me is in Hawke's Bay in Hastings last year. I was on a shift and a very quiet and gentle elderly man came up to me and asked if we could do his laundry. He was probably about 70 years old. And we were able to do his laundry, and he shared with us that he had been washing his clothes in a public bathroom sink for the last 5 years because he simply didn't have any other option. And for us to be able to, in that moment, provide that space for him to feel safe and to bring his clothes to us to clean, just absolutely took, I don't want to use the pun, but took a load off his mind for that day. And to see that relief lift from his shoulders and know that every week he can go to an Orange Sky service and have his laundry done just made a massive difference to him. We are a volunteer-led organisation, so we have a few paid staff across Aotearoa. We all work remotely, so we don't actually have an office. That helps reduce our costs. But we also have a massive team of 350 volunteers across the country who help support our service. In Whakatane, because we are partnering with Whakarei, we are using a different model where they are going to provide the kaimahi to coordinate and deliver the service on behalf of Orange Sky, which again comes back to that level of trust in the community, but also helps to reduce our operational costs as well. So it makes it a bit more sustainable for Orange Sky and for Wairuki to continue this service, because once we start something like this, we want to make sure that we can sustain it and be able to continue this. Our initial service here in Whakatane is going to be a trial period for 8 months, just so that we can measure the efficacy and ascertain whether the laundry van is the right asset. We also have vans with a shower in the back, so that might be something we look to in the future, but that will require a major capital fundraising campaign because they are very expensive and they come across from Australia. Keep in touch. I have to do the pitch for funding according to the fundraising team. We don't have any government contracts. We are completely funded through philanthropics, very generous donations, and individual givers and regular givers right across the country. And we just feel so honoured to have that. So if you'd like to donate, please do. And of course, if anyone is interested in getting in touch or having me come to speak further, I'd love to jump at that opportunity. I myself am based in Papamoa, so I'm only an hour's drive away. I think that sort of ends our presentation. I'd really love to have open the floor for any questions.
Thank you, Kat. Yeah, we have a question from Mayor Victor.
Yeah, thanks, Kat. Great stuff that you're doing there. When I, express concern about homelessness in Aotearoa these days, I often get the response that a lot of people who are homeless have got psychological problems. Given that you're out there doing it, what do you think about that? I mean, does that sound realistic or not quite accurate?
That's not quite accurate, and I think that's a very stereotype of what homelessness is. Recently, due to the increasing cost of living, unemployment rates, we are seeing more and more families that are coming to use our services. They just simply aren't able to sustain housing due to the costs. But not only that, we are seeing more elderly people attend our service because they can't afford the power to run a dryer. And we all know as well that if we put our clothes on a clothes horse in front of a dryer, that's going to create condensation, and that leads to respiratory problems, and it's a real concern for elderly. But back to the point, no, there is always going to be an element of people with some challenges, whether they be health or mental health problems. But in large, that's a very small population of homelessness. I think the majority of people that are homeless now are those that have just simply hit hard times. We know that if you lose your job, you have a health issue, those dominoes can fall very quickly and can lead to homelessness within a period of months, not years.
Thank you for that, and for rebutting that sentiment that I hear. Is there any way of collecting user stats, even anonymously, so that we get a better handle on who the users are? Because that can be useful in countering that argument that I threw out there.
We probably could, Victor, but we're a service of, we're not a referral service, so we don't, while we take stats of washing, loads of washing, we really respect the whānau's privacy, and we wouldn't typically ask for the reason why they're homeless or why they're using our service.
Councillor Rolls.
Thank you, Kat, for that presentation. This is brilliant. It's an absolute brilliant service that you're operating. I've got a couple of questions. The first one, just to follow on, you were saying about elderly people and the cost in drying their clothes. As economic times are toughening, have you found that you have had elderly people trying to access this service that are in their homes but unable to afford the costs that you indicated?
Yes, every week. I was on shift here in Tauranga last week, and an elderly couple came along on Saturday night to have their clothes dried. They had done their own washing, but they brought it to us to dry, and that was one of the main reasons. They just can't afford to have their dryer going at home. We see it right across the country. Every region now has elderly people coming to our service.
So those people aren't turned away, is that what you're saying?
No, we don't turn anyone away. Our service is open to anyone who needs it. So I think that's another misconception of Orange Sky. We're not just there for the homeless whānau, but anyone who's in hardship and actually needs our service. Because to be honest, you wouldn't normally come to our service if you didn't need it.
Yeah.
It's far more comfortable to do your laundry at home.
Yep, fully agree. Kat, the other question was that you, this van that you intend to service in Whakatane, albeit for an 8-month trial, is that specific to Whakatane, or does it get utilised from, say, Hamilton or Hawke's Bay? How does that work?
No, it will stay in Whakatane for 8 months. That van is currently in Auckland, and we are relocating it down to Whakatane. And once it's there, it will stay there for a period of 8 months. And the Waiariki Trust will create a roster and a regular schedule of where they will go and at what time, so that whānau know when they can access that service with them. But I think one of the other really exciting parts about this community-led model is that sometimes, we know that when you're facing hardship, it's really hard to keep a timetable and keep, a regular calendar. So the exciting part of this is that they will be able to meet people where they're at and when they need us the most. So it may not fall into a typical,
Okay. I see in your presentation too that you also say that it will be supported by Whakatane District Council. In what way are we supporting? Is it financially or in kind or?
No, not financially, but in terms of access to power and water across the city, they're working very closely with us to determine the best places for us to access that so that we're able to run the service.
And finally, is this only concentrated on Whakatane urban, or do you intend to get out into our more satellite towns? In other words, our higher deprivation areas where this is very much in need?
Yes, initially, we've had a lot of discussions around this actually, but I think initially we are going to concentrate on the close proximity to Central, just so that the Trust can get a handle on how it operates, and then with a view to move further out to Matata and Muriparara.
Waimana, Aotearoa, Ruatoki, they all come in between. But again, thanks so much, Kat. Really look forward to seeing it in the trial period.
Yeah, and thank you, Kat. It's you're doing a great service, and well done. We look forward to having the van come to town. So, thanks for your presentation.
Kia ora, and thank you, everyone.
Right, we'll move on to confirmation of minutes. The minutes of March, I haven't got a date.
6th of March.
6th of March in the agenda, and I move that the public and PX minutes, we'll pass them together. So do I have a mover? Councillor Paula, Councillor Duke, seconds. No discussion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Community board minutes. I will move that we receive the Tāne Community Board minutes from 7th of April 2025, Rangataiki Community Board 9th of April 2025, Mirapara Community Board 12th of May 2025, Whakatane Ahopi Community Board 12th of May 2025, Community Funding Committee 20th of May 2025, Youth Council minutes of 24th of February 2025, 11th of March 2025 and 31st of March 2025. Do I have a mover? Councillor Isles, second. Councillor O'Brien. No discussion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Move on to reports. Morpeth Recreational Hub. Phase 1 update report. I'll hand over to Alex. Thank you.
Thank you. Morena tātou. Thank you for the opportunity to present this report. I'm very grateful to be bringing this to the table today. This is the project that you agreed through the last long-term plan process was a significant priority for the community in the district of Whakatane, and observes that it meets our requirement to not only cater for now but plan for the future. As we know, much of the facility is not able to meet capacity needs as it is right now, and there are a number of health and safety, accessibility and functional upgrades that need to be carried out. What we've done here is provide a report that shows you how we are phasing the project and how we will work through towards seeking external funding ultimately to enable a redevelopment to occur. I'd like to now introduce you to members of the project team. First of all, Kevin Hogg, who's the project manager. First time at the table, I believe, presenting on this matter, so welcome. Thank you, Kevin. Supported by Ian Maloney, our Manager of Open Spaces, Kristen Sazovich, who's our Project Support Coordinator, and Paul Chick, who's in the gallery, who will be able to respond to any queries regarding the properties and facilities with his portfolio. I'll now pass to Kevin to take you through the paper. Thank you.
Well, kia ora, councillors, and thank you, Alex, for the introduction. So the purpose of the report that you've got in front of you is to really provide a project update. Oh yeah, it's all right. Mainly the project establishment activity to date. I'll take the report as read, but I will provide a high-level overview and receive any questions. So since the project's inclusion in the 2024-34 long-term plan, the focus has largely been on grounding the project. For example, resourcing the project accordingly, so making sure we've got the right staff and external resource around the table to ensure the project will succeed. Developing a robust project plan and then establishing a project structure to really govern the project. So on page 79, you'll find the project structure. that has been developed. So I just want to quickly walk you through this. So up the top there, you'll see the Living Together Committee, signalling that, you know, the key decisions for the project will be reserved for the committee. So key decisions such as approval of the master plan, approval of a funding plan, like Alex has mentioned, and any big decisions regarding the future redevelopment budget going into the next long-term plan. And then below the Living Together Committee there is a project steering group, which we are proposing to get up and running pretty shortly. So the job of the project steering group is to provide strategic oversight and guide council staff. And the group will be made up of members appointed by the Mayor, Ngāti Awa representative, subject matter experts, and some elected members as well. You can be assured that, you know, any recommendations, any big decisions before they land on your table will go through the project steering group prior. And then at the bottom there, you'll see the project team. Within the project team, I think, like Alex has alluded to, you've got myself, Ian Maloney, Paul Check, Kristen here, and a couple of key council staff who have contributions to make to the project as well. So we now believe we're ready to activate this structure. We see today as a key step in doing that, and then the next step being getting the project steering group up and running in July. At that first meeting, we'll be seeking approval of the project plan, a functional upgrades plan, and a communications and engagement plan. Yeah, back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions, clarification? Councillor Isles.
Thank you, Kevin. Bullet point, the third bullet point on item 3.1, prioritise health and safety, making the building watertight and functionally focused improvements working during the next 4 years of up to 7.8 million. That was work that we had already planned through the LTP, and that was for roof and other necessary to make it basically usable or keep it usable. My question is, though, if we were to look at the options that going forward, there was a possibility that this building would be demolished. So, although we are intending to delay any further progress until 2029, has anything changed from what was put forward in the LTP process to now?
So what we're doing now is working through master planning phase. So you're right, through the previous long-term plan, there were a bunch of master plan options on the table. One of those included alterations to, I think the preferred master plan included alterations to the War Memorial Hall. What we are currently looking at is scaling back those alterations to reduce the overall cost of the project. So rather than alter the footprint of the War Memorial Hall, which is where a lot of the cost was tied up in the preferred master plan, is keeping the build within the existing footprint, but really making improvements, health and safety improvements and functional improvements, and modernising the building rather than a full-scale overhaul of the hall.
So, Kevin, what you're saying is that the option of possibly demolishing the building has been taken out of possible options going forward?
Yeah, we're no longer looking at removing the building. I don't know if that was ever part of the brief, was it? I'll let you speak to the scene.
No removal. Mr. Chairman, through you, as it stands at the moment is that as Kevin has alluded to, is that the building will remain and not be demolished. There will be some alterations need to be made to the building to make it more functional in terms of court space, and other improvements within the building as well. And you mentioned the water tightness and health and safety issues as well.
Councillor Puller.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, everyone. I just can't help wondering, do you think the establishment of this project steering group's a bit premature, given that you're going to look at the alterations and just making good for the moment? I mean, the main thrust of the thing is probably 10 years away, really, and we're going to be paying money for people on a committee that's too early in some respects.
I could respond to that. The steering group will be overseeing 3 streams of work, so there's not just the functional upgrades, there is the master planning process, and there's also the funding plan. The membership of the steering group is largely carried out within people's roles in terms of time and cost, so it's minimal. And it's an important layer, I think. We've seen in other projects that have been successful to have that oversight that is somewhat independent from the working group and enables the Living Together Committee to make the best decision at this table.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for the report. I'm a bit perplexed about this, and I have to apologise if when we landed on this in the LTP, I thought we landed on the 7.8 million for necessary upgrades for health and safety and any other sort of tweaking with the field management that we could, and that we would then pause the master plan thing to the 2027. So I'm a little bit confused about how now we've got like a pretty 5-part harmony sort of project steering group, and I wouldn't like to see the steering group design and working together come out at any of the $7.8 million. So how was the project steering group being funded, if not out of the 7.8 million? And I'm not sure who did it.
I guess, to my earlier point, the steering group membership, for example, elected members on the group are doing that within their expected responsibilities as elected members. We have, I think, one independent who will be a paid member, but a minimal cost. I think it's about up to was it 4 hours a month? It kind of tops in terms of that investment, so it's very minimal in terms of overseeing a very...
a master plan doesn't sound like it's minimal, even if you've got staff time being involved in it. So how much out of that 7.8 million between now and 27 might be used up in consultants?
I mean, that's funded into the project as part of that. The 7.8 was to cover, you'll see 3.1 in the report, that decision through the long-term plan, and the outcome was a host of things that made part of that next 4 years. The 7.8 million covering functional upgrades, finalising the master plan, developing an external funding plan, and then integrating that stop-go decision so that when the time comes to decide on a redevelopment concept, there's the outgate if desired by council at the time.
Well, hence my apology, because I didn't realise at the time that was the implication of what we agreed on, and I think some of the community might feel like it's been a bit of a snow job as well. And I take it Councillor Puller's thing is, why do we have to do this like right now? So, thanks.
Mayor Luca? Do you want to speak, Steve?
Well, yeah, just to add, I was going to add my recollection of the long-term plan decision on Rex Morpeth was to use the next LTP as a off-ramp, so the next council could make or have a second chance to make a call on that big investment spend, which was scheduled for the out years. And in the interim, so over the next 3 years, there was investment and a commitment to doing the urgent works, but also in preparation for the 2027 LTP, staff to work on the development of a funding plan, and also to do the detailed design work, because that gives you a much clearer picture of what the actual cost will be, so that when we got to the 2027 LTP, all of that information was there, and that next council had that second opportunity to consider progressing or not, if that's helpful.
Thanks, Dave. Mayor Luca?
Yeah, well, our CE covered off some of what I was going to say. My understanding, you can't get funding if you don't know what you're asking for. So for that, you have to have some sort of design and concept. the 7.8, if you looked at the list of works that were proposed in the LTP, many of them were preparative works for a project as it was scoped at the time. And so now I guess most of that money, some of it, can go towards repairing and keeping the existing system going. On the funding thing, and this project is unlikely to go anywhere if there's no funding. It was $120 million or thereabouts. I presume now that you've changed things already that quantum of money would be smaller. But how do you see the funding environment going forward? Because I see governments pulling the plug on lots of things. That's probably not optimistic environment we're moving into, but I guess there's quite a bit of time to go yet. Anyway, any comments on that?
I could respond that the funding plan needs that amount of effort in order to make it successful. There are multiple options in terms of where we can go for funding, but we need to make sure that process is done well in order to get the funding that we do need, which will be the majority in terms of external funding.
So you're putting yourself in the position that you've actually got a chance at getting some funding.
And that is the purpose, I guess, of this vehicle. This project has been in the last 4 long-term plans. So the intent now is to actually make it a vehicle that can carry it through to completion in a way that enables us to meet our current and future needs.
And on the understanding that even getting that make-up funding, there's still a chance that a future council will still say no. But that's the way the game's played.
That's right.
Councillor Boynton.
Presentation as well. I just wanted some clarity. I know the question had been raised before around the steering committee appointment, and there had been a question about why wasn't a whakatane or a ward councillor appointed to the steering committee, mainly because they already have established committee of groups that utilise the venue. I just wanted to ask that question again. I'm sorry if the answer's already been given, but yes, I just wanted to find out what happened there.
Can you repeat that, please, Tony, because you're not coming through very clearly.
Oh, sorry about that. Can you hear me?
No,
Can you hear me?
I've got it written here, Tony.
Thank you.
The appointment of what whakatane?
Why wasn't a Whakatane or Hopi ward councillor appointed on the steering group was her question.
Yeah.
The working group sought advice from the mayor, who has the ability to appoint members to the group, and that was the designated members.
Any further questions? Okay, we're going to put these 2 recommendations separately. Number 1, that Morpeth Recreational Hub Phase 1 update report be received. Over mover. Councillor Rangiho, seconder. Councillor Dennis. Any discussion? All. Councillor Pullett.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't agree with the makeup, but that's not one for discussion here, really. We're only discussing or debating whether we receive them or not, I suppose.
For this one, we are. For the next one. Yeah. So this is only for receiving update.
Yep. Okay.
All those in favour? Against?
Against.
Okay. Recorded?
Yeah, can I speak to that?
Yes.
Chair, look, I'm sorry.
This is only to receive the report, though.
Okay.
Just one.
Happy to receive it, but I want to speak to the report.
Okay. So you've got the result for that? Yep. Okay, and number 2, that the Living Together Committee notes the established project governance structure, including the membership of the project steering group for the Morpeth Recreational Hub. Got a mover? Councillor Dennis, seconder. No seconder. It's lost. Councillor
I second
Tanzos.
it.
Okay, Councillor Tanzos. We move into debate. Councillor Pulu. Oh, no, Councillor Isles, sorry.
Well, I'll just reiterate what I said before, is that it's a fait accompli almost that the establishment of the governance structure is already there, but I don't agree with it. Thank you.
Councillor Isles.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, should this really be the responsibility of this council to be moving to the next stage, or should that not be left until the beginning of the new triennium? We're so close to the end of this one. Bearing in mind that how contentious this whole upgrade was in the LTP. Personally, I feel this is like a moving train disaster. We've been subjected to the costs that we've got to look forward to in local water done well, which is running into the millions. We're also looking at a possible reticulated sewage scheme for Matata at around 40 million. We've now got to also consider an upgrade of the Piripai wastewater treatment plant, which was initially scheduled at 30, which I hear now is closer to 40 million. Are we being quite realistic as governors as to where or how we're prioritising our spend? I honestly don't believe in this climate that we should be progressing this. We were told basically unanimously in the LTP submission process that they wanted to push the pause button. Why do we carry on against the wish of most of the public?
Any further discussion? Councillor Tanzos.
Thank you. Look, as far as I can tell, all that we're doing here is continuing with the decision that we already made during the LTP. This is not anything different from the decision that's already been made. And first of all, we know that there are essential repairs that have to be done. Otherwise, the War Memorial is going to lose functionality and value very rapidly. So if we don't actually go forward with some basic repairs, we're not responsibly looking after the assets that we hold in trust for the community. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, the other part of it is, and as the Mayor has said, if you're going to seek some funding, you've got to know what you're seeking funding for. It's a very small cost. We've been told that the amount of money that's actually going to be spent is almost nothing, and all it's doing is preparing a bit of a plan and a funding plan, and at that stage, as has been said, it will be up to the next council to decide whether to proceed. But it would be irresponsible of us to leave the next council with nothing to make a decision on. They've got to have a plan and a funding plan to know whether to even proceed or not proceed.
Councillor Boynton. You're on mute, Councillor.
That's why you can't hear me. Can you hear me now? Kia ora.
Yes.
I think my point was just really in the question that I asked. I understand that, yes, we do need a funding plan, and we do need material to be able to promote towards funders so that they buy into it. But part of that too, I think that I really feel that you do need a local councillor who already has connections locally to the groups who utilise the venue, and also those who they can draw funders from, because obviously those groups will have a vested interest in wanting to support seeking funding. So for me, I would want to ensure that they have the best chance of putting together that plan by ensuring you have a local representative as part of that steering committee. Thank you.
Mayor Luca.
Yeah, I totally agree with Councillor Tanzos, actually. There is a stop-start decision that's going to be made in 27-28. This is just giving the the proponents of this project, of which I am not one, the opportunity to go and seek funding. And it's just setting up a steering group.
Deputy Mayor Emmett.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much, Nandor, for your words. And you're quite right. I will change my vote and support it, but I do not want to see any considerable funds out of the repairs and maintenance go towards consultant fees that run out of control. Thanks.
Councillor Isles.
You allow me to speak a second time in the debate?
I will let you this time.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to correct Councillor Tantros. I wasn't opposing the 7.8 that's already in the budget to watertight the building, etc. I'm in favour of that going ahead, but I'm saying that is, in my opinion, is as far as we should be going. I mean, we've already been told with this Three Waters, or this local water done well entity, that we could be looking at around about a $3,000 water bill. So let's be realistic as to what we can and possibly can't budget for at this point in time. So I rest my case. I still am opposed to progressing any further. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Dennis.
As I moved it, does that mean I don't want to preempt someone else who wants to speak before me, so I don't want to have the last word, but I'll speak if no one else wants to. I think one of the first things the steering group needs to do is actually examine that statement on 3.0 about the strong support remain for redevelopment, because I thought the strongest support was for maintenance and water tightness, but that's something the steering group needs to relook at, is the numbers and the figures that came through on that survey. The other one I want to talk about is the makeup of the committee, and I acknowledge Caroline Hamill in the room as the chairperson of the Whakatane Hopi Community Board. But I'm surprised that at something like this that is looking at spending $7.8 million plus maybe looking at maybe 7.8, maybe looking at the plans going forward of funding for $100 million, you've only got one elected councillor on as well as a board member. And that community board member, is that per person or per position, seeing we have got the elections coming up? I wonder if we should beef it up a bit and have one more councillor on there, because I think that given the amount of money we're looking at, I wonder if we should have a second councillor on. I don't know, maybe the others are quite happy with the way it is, but those are my comments.
Thank you. Sorry? Oh, Mayor Luca.
You are quite right, Councillor Dennis. In a few months, all of that membership will be up for grabs, and so let's just make the decision today, and then anything can happen in 3 or 4 months. But and on the 7.8 million, yes, the repairs are absolutely important. Are we likely to spend anywhere near that now with the rescoping and?
There's a whole range of.
I'm also very concerned about spending money, but we'll take you at your word that this is all.
Well, that's the budget. The detailed sort of plans on what needs to be done is in progress, and further work needs to be determined. It may be less. It may come out break even.
Councillor Jukes.
Thank you. Just following on what His Worship has just said, I think actually just to take back that it is probably not a bad idea to, after the elections, to relook at the makeup of that steering group, because positions could change from board members to councillors and vice versa, and you just don't know what's going to be there. So I think it would be a good idea to relook at the membership then and see who's on council and who's not and everything.
Can I just ask clarification from Councillor Jukes? Does that mean that you're happy to go ahead with the makeup of the committee now as an initial thing? Thank you.
Absolutely. All I'm saying is that I think when we know the results of the election, then all I'm saying is that somebody could be elected onto council that is extremely passionate about the project, and that they may be a good choice. So I just think it's probably something we should look at after the election, re-look at, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
If I could just respond, it is mentioned in the terms of reference that the membership will be, reevaluated following the election.
Do we need a third recommendation? Because all we're actually doing here is receiving the report, and the Living Committee notes the established project governance structure, including the membership of the project steering group for the Morpeth Recreational Hub. There's nothing about the expenditure that's already being talked about today of the 7.8, or the looking at going forward to look for external funding. Would that not be part of this report? Considering, again, we're at the end damn near at the end of this triennium, we've got to give some sort of lead-in for the new council coming in as to where we're leaving this, because that will basically be possibly our last review of this.
But hasn't the 7.8 already been agreed to in the LTP?
Yeah.
Do you, and I'm agreeing with what you're saying, but do we have to reassert that, or is it already?
It's been agreed to, councillor, but now we're saying that some of the steering group expenses will come out of that. So I think we've got to be a little bit more transparent.
I'm going to wrap it up, but I mean, to be honest, I don't know why this subcommittee's been formed without coming through the Living Together committee at the start, because I knew nothing about it at all, so, as chair. So I don't think it was very good practice within council. So I'm going to put it to the vote. I'm not going to read the motion again, but all those in favour, do you want to show of hands, please? Just for number 2, that the Living Together Committee notes the established project governance structure, including the membership of the project steering group for the Morpeth Recreational Hub. So, all those in favour, show of hands. Against? Councillor Boynton? Favour? Okay.
8 for, and then 3 against.
Okay. So it's the motion's passed. Break up. So, okay, we'll move into debate, we'll have a break now come back at 10 to 11.
10? No, that's slow.
Is it? Same as my watch. 5 to 11. 10:55. Yep. Okay, we're back in committee again, so next part is Titoi Waka Whakarei, Maori Relationship Strategy, report from Honi and Donna. Welcome. So, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Atamari e koutou, ngā kai kaunihira. Mi kia koutou I tēnei wā o te mātahi o te tau. Good morning. I'm very happy to be here with Donna. My maiden report, my maiden presentation. So I have the maiden nerves and anxiety as well. So, yeah. So the recommendation is that the Te Toi Waka Whakarei Year 3 mid-year report be received. I'll take it as read, but just want to say a few things, add a few notes and some highlights. I got some advice not to talk too long and just open up to questions, but as it's my maiden report, sorry, buckle in. It's fitting that we are sort of doing this report at the sort of end of the triennium of the strategy at a time of matariki where we come together, reflect on what has happened and then also look forward as well. So in that vein, I sort of approaching this with sort of two ways. So te tiro whakamuri, kōkiri whakamua, and that's so we all look back together so we can all move forward together. And also sort of just like the Matariki Star o Hiwi Tarangi, where we cast our hopes, our aspirations at this time of the year to that star, I hope to sort of set a couple of aspirations too for us going forward, and out of this forum also get some aspirations from you guys as well. I think it would be remiss of me not to firstly mention the people that have gone before me, starting with Steph O'Sullivan and my predecessor Paul Warbrick, who identified the need and did the hard work and had the foresight to produce a strategy. But also to councillors, to you, for seeing the need, for supporting it, and then committing the council by word and by resource to a body of work that has never before been seen.
Thomas, not going through here.
Oh, kia ora, Councillor Point. Thank you. Like any movement, it's the people at the beginning that find it the hardest, that face the most criticism, do the most work. So ko tēnei te mihi kia koutou, the councillors, thank you for laying that path for us. Just I also want to mention, I mentioned in the report, the sort of changing national landscape, in part due to central government policy change and the impact that's having on iwi and hapu. But also acknowledge that the change within council, with a new CE, a new kaihotu and some personnel changes within our team, have also contributed to the impact that iwi and hapu are seeing in this changing landscape. Just a couple of highlights, I guess, over the last 6 months with sort of relationships with iwi. I noted in the December briefing there was a question about iwi work plans and coming together to share those, and Donna led a great initiative where she got new Ngāti Manawa's CEO, Eugene Berryman, and their full team to come in for the day to meet with exec and then to have them share their work plans so that they can see where there's room for collaboration, but also room to sort of tease out any issues. And that's something we hope to replicate as we go forward. And building on that as well, which is not in the report because it's only just happened, but we're lucky enough to have some iwi participants in our Aratakina Enterprise Project Management Training, which is for our people leaders and our project management leaders as well here. 2-day course, and we're able to get our iwi participants in to share their project management approach, to learn from us as well how we do things at council. And just quickly, another thing that's not on the report is it's just come up, is you'll note in the report there's an iwi health check run by Carlo Ellis, who's a former manager of strategic Māori engagement with Tauranga City Council, has undertook a body of work to go around the rohe and speak to the heads of iwi and basically get unbridled feedback on how we're doing. I've just received his report, and he's sort of characterised the council-iwi relationship as okay, with significant opportunity for strengthening. And most iwi reported that the relationship with council has been on an upward trajectory for the past years, and there's a genuine hope that that will continue. And again, I'd say that's thanks to you and the people who've gone before me who have paved that way. Okay, with significant opportunity for strengthening might not seem like an A+ report card, but if you cast your mind back to when you first started here and the state of the relationships then to where they are now, I think that's a win for us. Just quickly on some internal cultural capability. There is a lot of stuff in the report about what we have done. I just want to highlight a couple of things, and one is sort of our reshaping of existing FTE that we had, which was focused on coordination for the team, and we have reprioritised some of that FTE to focus on internal capability. We have Maya Grant behind me here, who's been dedicated to that, and we have already seen a big ramp up in those activities. You would have seen the Kingitanga presentation, which many of you were at. We've already had a Noho Marae Matariki presentation. We've had tikanga sessions, and that's just in the space of the last few months. And one other thing I wanted to mention was council tikanga. We have not yet had an established council tikanga for our staff within this building. And that led to disagreements, confusion in things like whakatau, even with karakia, which went against what we're trying to achieve here, which is creating a safe space for all our staff to learn and practice tikanga. So in consultation with the staff, and also with Te Runanga Ngāti Awa as mana whenua over this building, we have come up with tikanga that enables all staff to participate in council, but also provides that safe space for them to be vulnerable and to practice what they're learning. Which brings me to a story, if I may, please indulge me. It would be better to hear an example of that safe space and of the cultural capability that Maya has been leading. We had a Noho Marae at Ruahana Marae just in April, and a gentleman, Vikas Esterhazen, who is a systems engineer in security, so he keeps all your computers safe from being hacked. He recently migrated to Whakatane from South Africa with his wife and new baby. Came without a lick of knowledge of Te Reo Māori or Mātauranga Māori, and came to the marae a little bit scared. He didn't understand what he was going to come across, but he's an earnest man and a man who dedicated himself to it. Now Maya has been on many Noho Marae, and she's got a perfect recipe for learning. It involves elements of vulnerability, opportunities to learn in safe spaces, but also lack of sleep on a Noho Marae, and that's a perfect recipe for people putting their best foot forward. So for a man, Vikas, with no knowledge of Te Reo Māori, when he got up in the marae to say his pepeha and to tell his story, his life story, with vulnerability and unbridled honesty, there wasn't a dry eye in that room except for Emlyn, but everyone else was in. Everybody else was in tears, and I thought this would be the end of his journey into Māori, and he'll go back to his normal life. Fast forward a month later, when we had a mihi whakatau here for all the new joiners over the past 2 months, and he volunteered to be the kai kōrero for all the new starters and only in Te Reo Māori. And he stood You could see his hand shaking. He wouldn't mind me saying this. He stood there as confident as can be and spoke entirely in Te Reo Māori. I felt like a proud dad, and I feel like one now speaking about this. And when I thought I couldn't get any prouder, he then started his own waiata tautoko. And I think he belongs in our hiwi tarangi, our aspirations, because that is an aspiration for how I want our staff to be learning and growing here. And they were nurtured by Maya and by Tua as well to come to that point. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that story as it meant a lot to me and to our team. Speaking of aspirations, going forward, we would like to review the strategy. I think the great traction that we have made under your guidance deserves a review and refresh of the strategy so we can take that trajectory that the iwi partners spoke of and keep going. Sky's the limit, really. We would use the iwi health check and the feedback on that, and also engage with iwi. They're at different stages, they have different resources, and they also have different perspective or look through a different lens of their relationship with us. So we'll be guided by them. I'd like to focus on hapu engagement in addition to iwi engagement. Our iwi Chairs Forum, which we had on Tuesday, a very successful forum, but I think we can get more out of it in terms of outcomes and how that dialogue operates. So that's something on our radar for the end of the year. And our cultural competency framework as well, a refresh and rollout of that. And that's a few things. In the report, there's a few others. That is me. It's a whānau, and thank you for listening to me. Our team is very proud of the work we have done, and we see a raft of opportunities going ahead, and I'd love some feedback from you that would help inform our approach over the next triennium. Tēnā tātou.
Thanks, Honey. Open for questions or clarification, Mayor Victor.
Thank you, Hone. You said you weren't going to speak long.
Yeah, I know that.
Anyway, would you agree with the assertion that a document doth not a relationship make?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Councillor Dennis.
Thank you, Honey. It may have been your first one, but it was a good one.
Thank you.
Okay? So you've set the bar pretty high for yourself. I've got quite a few comments I want to ask. In your guiding principles on page 94, you talk about face-to-face, kanohi ki kanohi, strengthens relationships. Oh, and you talked about some of the elders coming in to meet the executive management. I've always found it interesting here, we're not allowed to meet them as councillors and the governance team. I know that the iwi leaders group meet with the mayor and the CEO, etc., but if we're going to strengthen relationships, wouldn't you actually have face-to-face with the iwi leaders and the leaders of the council? So that's one thing for you to think about, strengthens relationships and normalises what we do with everyone else. Okay, so the other one I want to talk to you about at this stage, and I might jump in later on, you talk about over the past 6 months that your role's been responsible for a number of things, which includes developing and implementing cultural monitoring and guidelines. You talked about co-developing iwi council joint work plans, agreements, etc., etc. So what I want to ask is, are those guidelines from your department that you've worked out, do they actually come here for our, not approval, but for our total agreement with what you're doing? I mean, every other group in here, when they have major decisions and guidelines they make with the community, they actually come and present it before their relevant committees, and we resoundingly agree and affirm our relationship with those guidelines. But if you don't do that with these, then what you're saying is that your department isn't part of our department. And I'm actually wondering if that also helps integrate everything that we do together, rather than have one group that doesn't. Because I'm a great believer in integration of everything. I'll bring up some points later. So.
I'm happy to answer that if you like.
Koha, okay.
Yeah. We actually have, under the councillor's remuneration policy, there's sections about councillor expenditure, and then the Koha policy is an internal organisational one. We have a number of internal policies which don't come through to council, but they come through to ELT for approval. So that's where you may not get visibility of it, because it's actually an organisational policy.
My point still stands.
Yeah, but it's noted, but just explaining why.
I mean, you get to the stage where we cancelled the last Living Together committee because we had nothing to talk about. There's all this stuff that we could really enrich our lives with.
Deputy Mayor Emling.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Kia ora kōrua. Thank you for your reports and your thoughts, Hone and Donna. I've got some questions that actually aren't in the report, and I've got a few, but I'm happy to do it in two parts if we need to. The first thing is about the better off funding for the policy hub up in Murupara and Minganui. So there's no mention of that progress in here, and it might be outside the scope. But the question is, when does that funding run out, and what happens with our engagement with those communities and we don't have any funding to support them to support us?
That's a really great question. It's very echoey. So the actual funding is due to finish on 20th December. It was actually due to finish on the end of July. However, the scope of the program changed, and so while some projects finished up a wee bit earlier, so then we extended the scope. So now it includes local growth strategies, so we're able to extend the program into December. What happens with the relationships post the policy hub? That really is, I think, where the relationship leads step into this space. So we have been. The team's expanding, and since my time, we've obviously, I look after Ngāti Marua, Ngāti Whare, and we've had a relationship lead for Ngāti Awa and looking at Ngāti Rangatahi as well. So that's where we step into that space. The policy hub was always designed to prove a concept on what that resource looks like for iwi, and whether or not iwi were then wanting and willing to take this resource on board in their own capacity. And I know that within Ero, the policy hub, they have offered up a service, a subscription service, which supports the relationships and which supports that program of work that our iwi doesn't always have the capacity and the resources to do. So they have looked at how that will continue on.
Yeah. So just a supplementary to that one. So are they in agreement that they will continue to fund themselves to keep up this engagement with us? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, ongoing. It is for the iwi and the policy hub on how they want to continue their relationship.
All right, thank you. Another question I have is that while we do have strong relationships with Ngāti Mara, Ngāti Whare, Ngāti Awa, Rangatahi, and we have a separate relationship with Tūhoi, which does not involve any of us in our leadership. What about Tūwhare Toki Kawerau and Ngāti Mākeno? Because we always list them as being part of our iwi, and I know Tūwhare Toki Kawerau is based in that geographical council, but do they have no needs from us, and are we engaging with them so that even if they don't wish to participate?
Yeah, I'm not going to speak for the iwi, but in that iwi health check, Carlo Ellis did go out to all the iwi, and those two iwi in particular were less receptive than the others, but it is also down as an aspiration for me to re-engage with them. I think it's opportune time as a new kaihotu to re-engage. I think historically their priorities perhaps were elsewhere, but it's definitely a priority to re-engage with those relationships.
All right, thank you. Another question, if I may, Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Thank you. So with all the tikanga and the learnings that we're having that has been threaded down through the organisation, like a couple of areas that we always receive complaints on was about consenting when some misjudgments might have been made, and Maori rates that do or don't get paid. Are we improving in those two areas with the commitment that we're giving, or is it same?
That's a tough question to ask. I don't think I'm able to answer. Obviously, the intent of those tikanga workshops and all our internal cultural capability is to improve that. From what I can see, there's certainly a lot of awareness amongst staff about things like consenting. I'm seem to be getting more and more early heads up on works that are going on and that could potentially be impacting iwi or hapu, asking for direction, which is a great thing. But the flip side of that is, we're going to iwi and hapu who are already under-resourced as well. For them being able to respond in a timely manner is also difficult, but I can only speak for what I'm seeing.
All right, thank you. And my last one is with you having your fresh set of eyes over the strategy and it's time for review, is there anything that's not working or anything that you would like to initiate ahead of any other part of the strategy?
Yeah, I think it would be foolish of me to set intentions on a strategy before we've sort of reviewed it, but my initial thoughts, which I think are true, is the council's come such a long way since that strategy was first written, so it can be lifted. I think 3 years ago, in the state that the council was in with the relationships, I think it was absolutely fit for purpose and a great strategy. But victim of your own success, the trajectory's gone up, and so we need to be lifting even further.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Boynton?
Kia ora. Kia ora. Am I coming through okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. Mihi to you, Hone and Donna and the team for all your mahi and your report. I do have a couple of questions. The first question was to do with wanting to know about the capacity of the team, given the extensive mahi that you've shown that's happening within the team in the report. How is the capacity of the team coping? And given that we've put a sort of pause on having staff come on board for a little while, but re-looking at it in the future, how is your team going?
We're going okay. We'll always like more FTE, but we are going okay. We have a lot of work, as you can see, but we are aspirational and we're wanting to achieve for our people. We have recently filled an open role in our team, so that will make it easier. No added FTE, but we're okay. And thank you for asking, Councillor Boynton. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And my second question is just around, I know it's been talked about before, but are there plans to work into an induction program for new councillors coming on board after elections that looks at the cultural aspects of our area and tikanga that's involved or needs to be known about when we are developing when we have relationships with our iwi?
Kia ora. Kia ora, Tony. Yeah, absolutely. And it will, I think the initial meet and greet will be with the haerenga, like we did last year with the Southern District, out to maybe not so jam-packed this time, but and maybe not on tight roads. But we'll definitely look to get our new councillors out there as soon as we possibly can. And with all of our
Te Kahupapa program, we invite councillors in to participate wherever possible. In fact, we have a treaty training coming up in July, so we'll be sending that out to everyone, which will be, I think will be very beneficial also. So yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you both for your mahi and your whole team. Thank you.
Councillor O'Brien.
Tēnā korua, kia koe hone, tēnā koe. Me koe hoki tona, me tō rōpū. E o koutou mai, e o korua e noa, e mua ia mātou. E pāna tēnei kaupapa, ngā koutou mahere rautaki i tēnei wā. O tira tēnā korua. Just a question. When you may not have the capability or the capacity within your team, do you call on the likes of Iaro to help, like they have been doing for us within the iwi? And I think we're very appreciative of the funding that has come forward. So Iaro and Taua Punga, me nōna mahi that they've done. I guess my question is, do you use them in the same capacity as what we do as iwi? Need for the likes of like very complex spaces like the regulatory standards. Do you think they will be in the future, and they are now, be good for us as a council to have them there to help us, especially when iwi are yelling for help?
The short answer is no, we don't use them. But to hear the commentary on the benefit to iwi is something we'll keep looking at. I mean, the funding, as was discussed earlier, is coming to an end at the end of the year. But to hear feedback that it's working for iwi, we've heard similar. It's great to know as we plan ahead for next year and perhaps look for other funding arrangements.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Chair, so that's a great idea because I think they've been invaluable because we certainly don't have the capacity and capability within our iwi to deal with matters like that, and we have been using them. So, like I said, we're appreciative of our council having made them available for us through the special plan and through that funding. So, ngā mihi ki a.
Ngā mihi.
No further questions, so we'll move to the recommendation that the Tūtoi Waka Whakarei WDC Maori Relationship Strategy Year 3 Mid-Year Report be received. I have a mover, Councillor Rangioho, Councillor O'Brien second. Any debate?
I would like to say something.
Yep, go ahead.
Sort of goes to my first question, really. I mean, one of the best meetings don't do that. one of the best meetings I've had since I've been in the seat was when an old Maori gentleman rings me up and says, "Can I come and see you?" So he comes and sees me and he says, "Oh, let's go up the valley and tell those fellas up in Ruatahuna something about three waters." It was spontaneous. There was no rule book. There was no strategy, but it will turn out to be one of the best meetings I've ever had. And sometimes when you've come with all this formality and stuff, it can be the enemy of relationships in some ways, I think. But I'm just speaking from my own experiences anyway. I mean, sometimes relationships are spontaneous. You just need to let people know that you're up for it. But anyway, that's my feelings. But thanks for the report. Well, you can respond. I mean, we had an example of it just the other day, actually, where rather than go a formal route, we went via an informal route. But anyway.
Deputy Mayor Emmett.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think I just wanted to perhaps highlight again that obviously the relationships with our iwi is crucial. Doesn't matter whether it's a consent or a road naming or an event. But I also want us to think about what is the actual outcome, and the outcome should be to produce better efficiencies for the community and savings for council. It's not just about holding hands and clapping and assisting staff to understand te reo and tikanga in our community if we don't have that other outcome. Those are great benefits at the front, but I think we should be keeping our eyes on the purpose of all of our learnings and making our staff more efficient and aware of the things that follow on from their engagements and their decisions.
Councillor Boynton.
Oh, kia ora. Kia ora. I just also want to mihi again to our staff, and I suppose in terms of the relationship, things are being very tested as identified in the report nationally in terms of how Māori are feeling regarding this government's current policies and legislations that are coming through. And to note that any relationship, whether it be informal or whether it be formal through formal protocols or structures, particularly with Māori and iwi Māori, is not transactional. And it's an ongoing part of the relationship. The conversations that we have, the work that we do is ongoing, and it may not necessarily have a short-term instant outcome, but the walking together is part of the relationship. And the opportunities, there are plenty of opportunities, I believe, in ensuring that we have strong relationships, particularly when it comes to economic opportunities, whether that looks at investment from iwi in projects that are part of council, that are part of looking after community, and there are at the moment unmeasured successes that ultimately support the work that the council does, that we may not be recording. Those measures aren't usually taken into account, and we do need to acknowledge that part as well. But I just want to say kia kaha to our team and also the rest of our council. Thank you.
Councillor O'Brien.
Just finally, waku nei whakaro kia kaha koutou te whai o koutou kaupapa te kaupapa. I think you're doing great work in that space, and I'm seeing positive and good results within the staff and relationships with not only iwi, but with governance as well. So kia kaha koutou. It's a good initiative. Ngā
Councillor Dennis.
I would have thought the relationship being described as okay was something to jump up and shout about.
Right, there being no further debate, motion's been tabled. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, Honey and Donna. And with that, that brings our meeting to a closure. Thank you all for your attendance, and I ask Councillor Rangioho to have a closing karakia, please.
Public excluded? We did it already.
We're going into public excluded after this.
For them, yes.
It's not part of this meeting. No. So we're closing with the karakia?
There was some minutes to pass, weren't there? Public excluded minutes?
Oh, public excluded minutes.
Did we do the public excluded minutes?
Done. It's done then.
Yeah.
They're all done.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Keep up with the meeting.
Yeah. Try and get a piece, Councillor.
Councillor Rangioho.
Kia ora tātou. Kia tātou katoa, te atawhai o tō tātou arekia i Hukrauti. Me te aroha o te ata, me te whiwhina tahini ki te ware o tapu, ake amini.
Amini, kia ora.
Right, now we move into public excluded workshop. We stay in here,